Hi, my name is Hazen Kellner, and today I will be discussing the article from Nature Neuroscience, a system identification approach using Bayes factors to deconstruct the brain spaces of emotion regulation. This paper delves into different areas of the brain that are involved in generating and regulating emotional response. And specifically, it builds on prior information that is known about regions of the brain that are believed to be involved and affected by reappraisal. Previous studies have focused on showing a negative stimulus, usually an image, and comparing what happens when the participants are asked to just view it versus view it and attempt to reappraise the negative image using different strategies that they might have. And that's delved into a little bit, different psychological strategies. The problem is that this approach is a little too simplistic to address overlap between generation and reappraisal of emotion. And so this study uses the statistical analysis method of Bayes factors to really analyze varying levels of activation in response to either a neutral stimulus or a negative stimulus, and under different task states of either just looking or looking and reappraising. So fMRIs were used primarily for the principal source of data acquisition. And just for exploratory reasons, they also correlated these regions that they identified to existing neurotransmitter receptor maps. And so they correlated the locations spatially between areas with dense locations of certain neurotransmitter receptors and the same locations observed. So in this study, two groups were used. One consisting of about 182 participants and one consisting of 176 participants. I do think of note in both groups, there was a fairly decent ratio of male to female, which is good for representation. And you don't often see that. So in group 1, it was 95 males to 87 females. In group 2 is 87 males to 89 females. So moving on, they were all around age 43 was the average for group 1, and 40 was the average for group 2. So it was fairly limited in terms of the age of participants assessed. And the authors do point out the fact that the results that they produced could vary a little more across different age groups, particularly with people of younger age groups whose brains might not be fully developed in the ways that older adults are. So Bayes was done within subject between different task states to identify these different specific brain regions. And then they were compared between subjects in each group for validation. And then they were compared across the two overall groups that were studied in order to really produce a certain amount of replication right within this single study and create really robust results that they reported on. So some key results and takeaways were that reappraisal regions were identified that were strictly related to reappraisal and not just generation of emotion, which is a key contrast that was unable to do in previous studies. And I want to talk about some neurotransmitters that were identified, including GABA A and mu opioids, which we talked about in class as both being inhibitory, as well as glutamate, which we talked about being excitatory. And a lot of the regulatory regions that were identified were in the association cortex, and key modifiable regions were present in the visual cortex. So I think this really highlights that emotion is way beyond just the limbic system, as we talked about, and way beyond dopamine, which we talked about. And really a complex interaction of inhibitory and excitatory responses takes place here. And so that was a summary of the paper that I read, and I look forward to your questions.